when I called the fight, I obviously backed Whittaker in the whole build up to it because it's Robert Whittaker. He's an amazing dude. He's an awesome guy to look up to. But then, of course, after facing Whittaker, I always believed that Khamzat would have the strength advantage in that fight. Whittaker being super technical, but as far as brute strength goes, he's just not that much of a force. Where you can see with Khamzat fights, he has that strength force, and maybe that's why he also gets tired in a lot of his fights, or when it goes past the second round. But yeah, what an amazing night of fights. Obviously with Ilya doing his thing, and he did an amazing job. I think the man's a superstar. Yeah, that was 100%. It was how I saw the fight play. Is Whittaker had to survive the first 2 rounds, and then do what he can do. For me, and surviving the 2 rounds didn't mean just defend, but stay out of harm's way, which obviously didn't happen. Khamzat did an incredible job of tying him down and using that strength to his advantage, using his strength advantage in that fight. When you have a guy like that and you're just defending, it becomes a guy who's that good offensively and you are just defending. It becomes hard. If you look at a guy like Whittaker, he's also an offensive fighter. Likes to push forward, blitz, and it felt like comes up being a forward fighter. I think, in my opinion, which is easy to say from the couch, but maybe push a little bit forward more. But I just knew that Khamzat is a great first round fighter, an okay, good enough second round fighter, but that's when he starts to fade. And it was going to be interesting to see what happens in round 3, 4, and 5. But he got the job done, so big ups to him. And with Khamzat, what I see is the way he shoots in, he's not necessarily getting on the legs and getting a perfect double, not at all. He gets in and he wants to grab a hold of you. And if you are defending or have a defensive mindset on that, he just grabs a hold of you, and that's where he starts to tie you down. So I think that was something, maybe a mistake that Whittaker made. But like I said, on a mental level, you don't know how hard this guy is. You don't know how strong he is. So it's a feeling out process, and the way Khamzat likes to treat this feeling out process is by getting the fight to the ground as soon as possible and trying to drain you and see if you make a mistake as soon as possible. I think a lot of guys made that same mistake with me. I think Sean Strickland made that mistake with me, maybe even Israel, saying, listen, get past round 1 and 2 with this guy and he's going to be tired, and that's where you start gaining. But if you have a defensive mindset, you're going to be on the back foot the whole time, especially with a offensive heavy fighter like Khamzat in the offensive wrestling stage and myself in offensive everything stage. So I think that I'll be very careful to say that would be the way to approach a fight like that. I think, in a fight like that, when somebody's coming to fight you the way Khamzat does, you go out and you fight him. If he comes to wrestle you, wrestle him back. If you just defend, there's not a scenario where he's threatened at all. And that's what we saw with Rob. Rob being technically very, very good. But there wasn't a stage where he even threatened with a submission, whether it be a submission with a strike or just forward pressure. He didn't threaten Khamzat in any way. And that's why I think Khamzat had his way the way he did. Khamzat is a strong guy, but I know for a fact that he's never felt power like this. Now, when it comes to his wrestling, obviously that's his strong suit and where he likes to take a fight, and I would welcome that if I had to fight him. Let's meet strengths and see who can last. I think the fact that he always fights with his strength, he uses that strength, that's why he gets tired. But you can say the same about me. And at the end of the day, it's going to come down to who's willing to give up and who's willing to die. And then, that question's, I've answered that question many, many times.
Can you bring us up to speed? What are the conversations like? What are you expecting to happen here?
Well, let me tell you this. So obviously the conversations were more on fighting Strickland, but there was a very big reason no contract's been signed. And I'm saying this as an opinion. I agreed. I said, I'll fight Strickland. Perfect. And that's the fight the fans want. But if you go on what the fans want right now, it's definitely not the Strickland fight. And if you ask me, what do I want? I want to fight the best guy. I want to fight the guy the fans want me to fight. And that 100% is Khamzat. If they give me the Strickland fight, great. I'll fight Strickland in February or March or whenever, and then fight Khamzat. But with the hype right now and what the fans are feeling, and at the end of the day, they are the people that need to be entertained. And if you go on value for the UFC, and if you ask me personally, the Khamzat fight's what I want. I want to take his I want to beat the next best guy, and I've beaten Sean Strickland. You know, everybody can have their opinion on how close the fight was. Yeah, it was close, but there's not a doubt in my mind if I won that fight or lost that fight. And the win is on my record. I've been in there with him, and what excites me right now is getting in there and beating Khamzat Chimaev. That would be first prize. That's what I want, and you know, wherever he wants to do it. You know, I know he has some traveling issues. I don't know the extent of those issues, but you know, I'll fly wherever I need to get that fight. I'll fight him in his hometown. I don't know where he resides currently, but I'll go there and we can fight there. That's the fight the fans want to see, and you know, for my legacy, that's the fight I want. So for me, it's only about one thing, and it is who is the next best guy, the baddest guy out there. That's the guy I want to fight. So right now, people are, you know, thinking that Khamzat is the next best guy, but there's only one best guy, and that's me. So I want to prove that once again. And obviously, if you look at the amount of people that's going to watch a fight, there's more people that are going to want to watch me versus Khamzat and me versus Strickland. And at the end of the day, that's the only determining factor, is the guy that the people want to see. Because at the end of the day, they buy the tickets, they buy the pay-per-views, and they are the people we need to entertain.
When you say I want to beat the next best guy, in your mind right now, is that Khamzat? Or if taking all bias or what fans think aside, Sean Strickland has been doing it longer. Do you see him as the number 2 middleweight in the world, or do you see Khamzat as the number 2 middleweight in the world?
Well, I'm gonna answer that this way. Sean Strickland beat Paulo Costa in a very boring fight. Robert Whittaker went out there with an amazing performance against Paulo Costa, got rocked, came back, made it look easy, took a fight against Khamzat, you know, then got a change in opponent fight week, made it look easy. So that automatically puts him above Strickland in my mind. And a rematch against Strickland also didn't really get me that excited. I knew how to beat him and I would do it again. So Khamzat comes out there, puts on. So if Khamzat beat Whittaker by decision, that wouldn't warrant him leapfrogging Sean Strickland. But doing what he did, the way he did it, it's hard to deny the man that he deserves the shot. And for me personally, once again, he is right now, because before that, like you said, he hasn't beaten the top of the division, but now he has. Sean Strickland hasn't beaten Robert Whittaker. Khamzat has. And Whittaker has been at the top of that division for very, very long. He's only been beaten by myself and Israel Adesanya. So, yeah, that warrants me, in my mind, warrants me a shot at the belt. The fight is given when the contract's signed, and the contract's not signed. So, this is the fight game. We've seen this many times before.